trying to get the best possible control you can coming down here.
I think it'll clear.
So I'm back.
Welcome home.
Thank you, thank you. I'm still kind of like landing, you know. Had fun watching one of the episodes you did recently with Jason. You guys had some fun while I was gone, while the boss was away. The mice will play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing some stoppies and that sort of thing. So I thought what we might do is kind of like do a little offshoot of that and actually do some, now that the boss is back in town, do some functional front brake use. This is one of the things I think for you that, I mean, you're getting better with it, but I do see you occasionally lose modulation of the rear wheel and get some skidding, and that's obviously, you know, slowing you down when you're not intending to skid and you skid, because that means you're not stopping as quickly as you might otherwise. So today I thought what we might do is do some braking drills and then do some descending drills with front brake only, because that's super fun.
Okay.
Does that sound like fun to descend with front brake only?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
Sounds safe.
Yeah, it's pretty good. This is definitely something, you know, for those of you at home, as you're learning this, just take this one step at a time, because obviously there is some risk involved in doing this, but the benefits of learning to use your front brake are going to far outweigh the risks of practicing a bit with front brake only drills. So I know we've already set you up well for this, but just for our viewers, I'm just going to kind of run through some of the important elements of the way we set up our levers for optimal braking. So what I have riders do is basically bring their hands down flat onto the handlebars and then rotate the elbows out slightly so that the index finger points in at a little bit of an angle. From here, we should be gripping the hook ends of our levers so that we can get really effective one finger braking, because this is going to give us the most possible leverage on the lever body by getting hooking our fingers at the end. And what we see a lot is that when people do this, when they rotate their hands in, they're usually like way up on their brakes here. So a lot of people need to slide the brakes inboard a little bit so that they're actually gripping the part of the brake that gives them the most leverage. We're going to get started, and I think before I give you any tips and tricks, I think we just want to see where you're at. So I want you to do your best. I want you just to come in here increasingly like faster and faster each time, maybe 5 or 6 times into here, just doing your best job stopping. You're going to start stopping at the first pink cone, and you're going to bring your bike more or less to a stop, maybe to like 1 or 2 miles an hour at the red cones. Okay, good, good. Nice stop.
More speed?
More speed. Yeah, if you're not pushing past the red cone and you're starting to brake here, then you can do more speed. So we're just trying to see like how fast you can come into this and stop in that amount of time, in the amount of time you have between the first cone and the last cone.
We might be limited by my fitness.
Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a couple more. I'm going to make a couple little changes to what you're doing in a minute.
Okay.
So, got some good things for you. Keep an eye on what she's doing with her chin. So her head's coming down a little bit, and that's pushing a little weight through the shoulders, lifting the back wheel. So this is one of the little keys that we're going to be working on, is the position of our body as we stop. Okay, nice, good job. All right, so another run through.
Okay.
All right. So you guys also got a good view for foot position here. So notice the foot position of the back foot. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what's happening with that back foot that's also causing her to push a little bit through the shoulders and lose a little bit of back brake modulation. That's a little bit better. Okay, good. Good, you're getting some pretty aggressive stops going there.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, it was really good. Definitely, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of skidding going on, and we're going to get a little bit less. You made an actual correction. I was calling you out on film for our viewers, but you actually made a little correction, so maybe we'll show a couple of the runs before I call those out. So a couple things that are going on in addition to not using enough front brake. But in addition to not using enough front brake, there are a couple things that are really slight with you, but it's enough that it's kind of like it's going to make a difference. So one of the things was the first couple of times you're kind of looking down. Okay, so remember when we look down, like you're not looking down like a lot, but as you're braking, your chin is coming down. So what I want you to think about is as you're braking, like having your chin come up. Okay, the other thing is your back heel, your right heel in the first few stops was just above level. So it's just enough to kind of push you forward. So that combined with looking down a little bit was pushing weight up into your shoulders. And we want that weight to push down a little bit more through the back wheel. What we're going to see here is that as you make these two little adjustments, you're actually going to get more rear suspension compression. Okay. So let's just try that just with that. Then we'll work on our braking game, and then we'll bring it all together. So
All right.
you're gonna think about, as you're braking, you're gonna be looking up and you're gonna ground your right heel just a little bit more. One of the things you can do if you're working, with a friend at home working on this is to kind of stand at the front and put your hand up, put your glove up and have them look at your hand when they're stopping. That's gonna keep their eye at eye level, and that's gonna get their head position correct to get weight down through the feet. So we'll try that now. You also feel like you're directing traffic when you do this. It's pretty sweet. When you're stopping, you're gonna look up. Feel that difference?
Yeah, I didn't want to run into you.
Well, I totally appreciate that. No, that was really good. Like by looking up and really having something to focus on,
Yeah.
rather than looking at the ground down below you, you got a lot more weight on your heels and a lot more weight on your feet, and you got a lot more pressure down through the bike. So that was really good.
Cool.
All right, so now we're gonna talk about what's going on with your braking. I mean, we can see here that you're stopping pretty fast, but you're definitely getting a little bit of skidding still. So let's go ahead and bring your bike over here. And if you want to be on the other side of the cones there, or why don't you be within the skill drill zone there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to feel the power and efficiency of each brake.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is just put the back brake on. So we're going to put that back brake on. We're going to push the bike forward. So notice I don't even have to hang onto my bike. It's going to skid. It's pretty easy to push it, right? Especially on this gravel. So it slides super easily. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the back brake. Obviously, a really important part of our braking program, but it's in terms of our stopping power. It's probably about 30% of our stopping power. I always say that with the front brake, we get about 70% of our stopping power out of the front brake, but we only need to squeeze it 30% as hard because it's in front of us, and we're going to feel that now. So squeeze the front brake like you just squeeze the back brake, and just push your bike. So, right, the bike's gonna stop a lot more,
I'm
right?
doing stoppies again.
You're doing stoppies again.
Feels
exactly.
great.
Yeah, stoppies off the bike. So now push it forward and make it hard to push the bike with just the front brake on, but let the front wheel roll. So this is a great thing to do at home just to practice modulation. So this is truly what modulation is when we're braking, is the ability to slow your bike down dramatically while not skidding and not locking up the front wheel. Okay. So now we're going to go back. We're going to try that again with both brakes on. So with both brakes on, the goal of this little off-bike drill here is to make it as hard as you possibly can to push your bike. So make it as difficult as you can to push your bike without skidding and without lifting the back wheel. Okay, so you're going to try to make it as hard as you can to push your bike. Really feel both wheels rolling and the pressure that you can create there.
This is a hard drill.
It is, right? So it's really showing you kind of your efficiencies or lack of efficiencies with the way that you're using your hands. Okay, so
I'm using way too much rear brake.
you're using way too much rear brake, exactly. And that's what I've been seeing on the trail, and that's actually slowing you down. So the fact that you're losing traction before you should, it does a couple things. One is it means you can't slow down as quickly, which means you have to brake for longer. So that's obviously something that's not good. But also when you start to skid, it kind of sends a signal to your brain that you're kind of on the limits of your traction. And so if you're on a steep pitch and you're starting to skid, it kind of tells you, whether it's true or not, that you're on the edge of what you could ride in terms of pitch.
Yeah.
Because you're starting to accelerate, you're starting to lose control essentially. So as you start to be able to modulate better, and you start to be able to brake more effectively, and you start to be able to hold off on sliding on a trail that you used to slide on, it's going to seem really confidence inspiring. It's going to allow you to go to steeper and steeper trails and ride faster and faster and brake later and later. This time just use the front brake to bring your bike to a stop.
Okay.
Okay, so start at a speed that's comfortable and safe for you, and at a kind of in terms of how much brake you're putting on, start in a place that works for you. And this goes for you guys at home as well.
Okay.
All right. Good.
Okay, that felt safe.
Yeah, it's surprisingly safe feeling once you have good modulation with your fingers, right?
Okay.
Really good. Nice.
It almost feels exactly like adding in the rear brake.
Like you feel like you almost have both brakes on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I even need my rear brake at this point.
Exactly, right? But when we add it in, you'll be surprised how when you don't lead with your back brake, what I mean by that is when it's not the key component of your braking, and you add it to the front brake, it's super empowering. So I think you're really going to like the way that feels, and that's the beauty of doing this rather than doing back brake only stops, then adding the front brake. This way you're really like feeling the most powerful brake, and then you're going to add in the part that really like kind of like helps it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of thinking about it the other way around, that, oh, I can kind of help my back brake with the front brake, we're really helping the front brake with a little bit of back brake. That was front brake only?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
That was the funniest thing.
That was impressive. Like it almost looked like you were using both brakes, and you can really start to feel the power of the front brake, right? Like it's,
It felt the same as using both brakes.
yeah, except you weren't skidding, right? So now with that same posture and that same awesome front brake use, we're just gonna add in the back brake,
Okay.
all right? So just go at a speed that challenges you, and we'll see how fast we can get you going in here. I can tow you in with the truck if you need me to.
Yeah. Rope tow, please.
We can do that. Okay.
I think it fishtailed a little.
It did. So you got a little, you kind of went back, when you started braking, you started thinking kind of like you did before. Like you went back to a couple things. So your vision was a little bit down, back heel was a little bit up, and you grabbed a whole bunch of back brake, right? And so this time I want you to lead with your front brake. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're putting your front brake on first, but I want you to think about that as being the major component in your stopping here.
Okay.
So chin up, back heel drops down just a little bit more, and really focusing on getting a lot of front brake use while you're braking. And looking up. Yes.
Yeah, stop
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah, you stopped sooner, right? And you're going way faster. So, how's that?
It's a lot of work.
Sprint intervals. You're getting your interval training and your braking training all at the same
I'm
time.
gonna mark this down for my coach.
Yeah, for sure. This one counts. Counts as your, what, 15-second sprints maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So I thought what we do next is head over to some steeper ground, practice using front brake only on steep ground. We'll start not so steep and work into steep, and see how that affects your overall speed on the trail. You should find that you get more control and the ability to brake later and the ability just to go faster in general.
Cool.
All right, let's do it.
The drill only works if you use the right colors for it.
It really only works this way. Definitely when you're color coding, it's important.
Yeah.
Yellow, beginner.
Yep.
Orange, intermediate.
Yep.
Pink,
Ultra.
expert.
Extreme.
Extreme, cool crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we got a little single track pink here.
We're going over the route.
Yeah, there's good traction there. So that's important. And then you've got one where you can come over the route this way too. You know, this probably looks really appealing to you.
That's a lot of crazy cones.
It's a lot of crazy cones. So you got some choices here. Does that look too confusing, or
It's just chaos.
total chaos? Pink cone chaos. All right, so we're gonna work on modulation. We've got a few things happening here that kind of like add some challenge as we go. And I did this for your level. So this is kind of like set up for your level. We'll just see how far we get, but just do what's comfortable for you. The yellow cones, we've got really great dirt there all the way down. That's gonna be our easiest one. For you, not such a steep pitch. Maybe for some less experienced riders, they'd want to start a little bit less steep. And then we've got our orange line here, and our orange line, it gets steeper, and we have a little bit of a space where we need to have good brake modulation because we've got a little bit of a flat stone there. And then pink lines, pretty self-explanatory, pretty extreme for front brake only. There's even going to be some places where the front wheel loses contact with the ground momentarily. So we're going to have to be really clean with our front brake modulation here. So before we get started on our steep descent brake training here, just a little recap, you know, for you and for viewers is the position that we want over the bike. So generally speaking, we want to be standing directly over the bottom bracket, which is where the cranks attach. And rather than pushing back when we're braking, like pushing back here, we want to be moving into our legs. And so you were doing a really good job with that. In terms of our placement over the pedals, we want the meaty ball of our foot to be supported by the pedal spindles. Now, as we move into these steeper descents, just a quick recap, obviously as we're moving in, if it's not a very steep descent, we're going to move forward a little bit to collect our arms a little bit, so we have the space for our arms to move out. As you get into the pink extreme lines here, you're really going to be moving forward coming in, so you build even more elbow bend so that your arms have the space to roll down the steeper pitch there. If you haven't checked this out, we do have some information in episodes prior to this on rolling steep descents, but just little reminders for you as well as for our viewers.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to get started, or do you want me to demo?
I will watch you do it first.
All right, front brake only, here we go.
But you got to do all of them.
Okay,
You got
I'm in.
this.
Front brake only. Good control coming down. All right. Front brake seems to be working, seems to be holding.
Yeah, it's making a good noise.
All right, then the orange cones, very similar. Coming down, good modulation, good position.
DC Rampage.
All right. So again, just trying to get the best possible control you can coming down here. So I got my front brake, using it a little bit. Right, so front brake only. So coming in, knees come forward, coming down. Okay, front brake only.
I think your bike bottomed out on it. Does my bike bottom out on it? I think it'll clear.
Gonna make it easier for
That
you.
is 100% the pro racer move.
It's
They just
100%
walk
what?
down the track and clear stuff.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need a race caddy in front of you.
You must really trust me leaving your fancy bike in the landing.
I'm leaving my fancy bike and my fancy self right here. All right, front brake only. You got this.
I would like a trail cleaner.
All right, good. So let's go to the next line, to our little rock line here. Ooh, look at those skills.
It's like a limbo.
Okay, really good. So one of the things I saw there was I could see the top of your helmet. So as you decide, like as the front wheel rolls in, see if you can bring your chin up. That's going to be helpful for you when you get onto steeper ground. Okay, so once you've seen it and you're committed and you're going in, then try to bring your chin up. It's going to put you in a better position to get good modulation over that front wheel when our posture is correct over the bike, as opposed to having the head down too much. You're welcome to be looking down, and then as you get down into there, look up. Notice that the bike, I don't know if you could feel it, but it just looked like it slowed down
Yeah.
more aggressively there.
Is there a reason I should do it with front brake only first?
No, totally great call. So this is really, really steep. You don't have to do it front brake only. And if you want to warm up with both brakes on first,
Yeah.
and then just reduce the amount of back brake until you can just challenge yourself to see if you can do this front brake only, then great. And remember, we're not trying to learn to ride steep descents on our front brake only, generally. Like we're not trying, that's not the way we're going to ride on the trail. We're just trying to get more effective use of the front brake, and we want to be safe when we do this. So I highly advise you to use both brakes. If you're starting to get to the point where you're like, well, this looks kind of spicy,
Yeah.
then you can just reduce that back brake usage until you're using front brake only.
This is a drill. It's not an on-trail execution.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, both brakes.
Mostly front brake. Okay. How'd that feel? So see if you can slow it down a little bit.
Like come in slower.
Yeah.
And roll slower.
Roll. Yeah, just roll with more control, more slowly.
Okay.
Just really work on that modulation. Good. That's what I want to see. Because I could really see the bike kind of stalling on that front wheel. And that's what we want. I want you to feel confident using the front brake, not like, well, maybe I should let off the front brake now, right? Because we're trying to be able to use the front brake in places where we might not use it riding at full speed, but just getting that ability and that comfort to use it at a level we hadn't used it before. Nice and slow. Good. Nicely done. All right, how are you feeling about, how are you warming up to in terms of the idea of maybe trying it with front brake only?
Front brake? I'll try it.
And just let off, if you feel like you're losing modulation, just let off the brake. So if it feels like it's going to skid and tuck or something, just let off it. Or use your back brake.
Okay.
Okay? Well, you got some front brake modulation there. There's some stopping practice in too. Jason will be proud.
Stoppies on a cliff.
That's probably not where we want to do our stoppies, but that was pretty impressive nonetheless. So a bit too much front brake right there in one moment, right? Like, so even with all your years of experience, there's still a lot of room for improvement there in terms of the dexterity with which you're using your front brake, right? So you got a little excessive braking there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy to think because I've been riding for 7 years now and I've never practiced braking, and it was something I never thought about because it's always been like, oh, well, of course I know how to pull brake levers. The bike is stopping. What's the problem?
Exactly.
But this is definitely illuminating how much room for, I guess, training my brain to use the right amount of each brake.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that, I mean, look, you've got a lot of time on the brakes over the course of your career, but if you're not thinking about it and you're not trying to improve that part of your game, it's just simply not going to get better. Right? So just focusing on it is a really healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
So do you want to try that again, or are you kind of like, I'm good with that, or how are you feeling?
I'll try it again.
Okay, just remember, if you feel like you're getting that much braking, like, let off the front brake a little bit.
Yeah, and to be honest, part of me isn't really afraid of falling here.
Okay.
Like,
cool.
I think I'd
Like your attitude.
think I'd walk away from it still.
Yeah, I'm afraid of falling here. Yeah.
I just came in faster, so maybe that's cheating.
But was that front brake only?
It was front brake only.
That was great. That was really good control. Yeah. So none of these are really any harder than that. I mean, like the next one over is not really any harder. It's up to you if you want to try it.
Sure.
If you want to start with both brakes again, feel free to do that. Just do what makes you comfortable, okay?
Yeah, I'll do both brakes and we'll reevaluate.
Okay, sounds good. So the big challenge here is that on this particular descent, her front wheel is going to be off the ground momentarily. So if she has too much front brake, it's going to skid when the front wheel touches again.
Holy crap!
It's pretty steep.
It's a cliff. It's
an overhang.
overhang.
It's overhung. So this is the thing that is tougher about this, and I was just mentioning this to our viewers, is that here your front wheel maintains constant contact, right?
Yeah.
Here it's actually going to lose contact for a moment. So if you are like, oh, I'm not slowing down anymore, and you grab a bunch of front brake and you land your front wheel with a bunch of front brake here,
it's just stopped and you.
it's stopped and you're going to flip, or it's going to, more likely, it's going to actually skid and push.
Wait, so you told them that before you told me?
Good.
Oh, felt pretty good.
Yeah, that looked like it was mostly front brake too.
I think so.
Yeah, good. That was great.
Okay.
You want to try another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think after a few, I'll feel a little more comfortable on it.
Yeah, just keep easing up on that back brake. Again, you know, for our viewers at home, this isn't about being able to come down this with very, very little back brake, like when you're actually out riding. It's about being able to use both brakes really well, and this is simply just a practice to help us be able to do that. Yeah, that was awesome.
That felt like a lot of front brake.
That looked like pretty much front brake exclusively. Yeah. All right, do you want to just go down that once now with both brakes, now that you've been mostly using front brake? You want to just try it, like just
try both of them?
Yeah, just
Go
ride
slow.
ride it with confidence, and just kind of see if you're feeling like just a little bit, you know, better about your brake usage.
Yeah. Should I try and go super slow? Is that the goal?
Yeah, let's try for a slow one down there, both brakes. Really nice.
Yeah, I felt slow.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was great. Awesome. Well, I think this gives you some great things to work on. Remember, you can set this up just about anywhere. I mean, one of the nice things is you can work on this in the wet, you can work on this in the dry, you can work on this in gravel and good dirt, and just start to really get a feel for how much braking you can use in each of those different conditions. And then by isolating, you know, back brake only, front brake only, using both brakes and all that kind of thing, you're really going to start to develop this really keen awareness when you look at the ground, or maybe just the feel of your tires rolling over terrain. You're going to kind of intuitively know just how hard you could brake in a given situation, in given conditions, and really be able to maximize your braking, really be able to maximize your control, and really be able to maximize your speed as an end result of that.
So what's fascinating to me is how easily the rear wheel locks up, and then you've lost all your braking power. So the way I see it now is I could either get that 20% out of my rear tire, or if I go a little bit too far, I got nothing.
Exactly. You get a bit of braking out of the back brake, and then as soon as you lock it up, you basically get nothing. So this is a really important thing for you to continue to work on, so that you have this really super solid feel for your braking in any conditions at any speed. Right? So go home, practice like I know you will, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this on the trail.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.